Welcome to the Huberman Lab podcast, where we discuss science and science-based tools for everyday life. I'm Andrew Huberman, and I'm a professor of neurobiology and ophthalmology at Stanford School of Medicine. Today, we're talking all about habits. In particular, we're going to discuss the biology of habit formation and the biology of how we break habits. I think we can all appreciate the value of having habits. Habits organize our behavior into more or less reflexive action, so we don't have to think too much about performing the various behaviors that, for instance, allow us to brush our teeth or which side of bed we roll out of in the morning. And then, of course, habits can be more elaborate too. We can be in the habit of exercising at a particular time of day. We can be in the habit of eating certain foods. We can be in the habit of saying or not saying certain things. But of course, there are many habits that don't serve us well, or that perhaps even undermine our immediate and long-term health goals and psychological goals, and even some habits that can really undermine our overall life goals. So today we're going to talk about making, meaning forming, and breaking, meaning stopping various habits. There's a lot of information out there about habits. You'll find this in the popular sphere. There are books, there are articles, there are workshops, and so forth. However, lesser known is that there's a whole neuroscience of habit formation and habit breaking. And there's a whole field of psychology devoted to understanding habit formation and habit breaking. And within those scientific literatures, I think there are some real gems that, at least to my knowledge, we haven't paid too much attention to in the popular sphere. So today we're going to talk about the biology of habit formation and habit breaking. I'm also going to spell out two specific types of habit formation and habit breaking programs. I'm going to boil these down to some very explicit steps that anyone can use. My reasoning for doing that is, first of all, it's the end of 2021. Many people are thinking about New Year's resolutions. They're thinking about leaving some things behind from 2021 and previous, and acquiring some new behaviors, taking on some new challenges, and trying to bring new things to their lives. But regardless of when you're listening to this, the programs that I'll outline are grounded in the neuroscience and biology of habit formation, and they map very well to what the psychologists have described in terms of habit formation and breaking. So today you're going to learn a lot of science. You're also going to come away with some practical tools. And I'm certain that regardless of your present state or goals, there'll be something of value to you. Before we begin, I'd like to emphasize that this podcast is separate from my teaching and research roles at Stanford. It is, however, part of my desire and effort to bring zero cost to consumer information about science and science-related tools to the general public. In keeping with that theme, I'd like to thank the sponsors of today's podcast. Our first sponsor is Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is an all-in-one vitamin, mineral, probiotic drink. I started taking Athletic Greens way back in 2012, so I'm delighted that they're sponsoring the podcast. The reason I started taking Athletic Greens and the reason I still take Athletic Greens is that because of the ingredients it contains, I know that I'm covering all of my foundational needs for vitamins, minerals, and probiotics. There is a wealth of knowledge now pointing to the fact that the so-called gut-brain axis is important for our brain health, for our metabolic health, for our hormone health, for our immune system. So the probiotics, vitamins, and minerals really support that system. And many of the other things it contains generally support our health in terms of neural system, meaning the brain, the spinal cord, etc. Basically, Athletic Greens has all the things I need, nothing I don't. And by taking it once or twice a day, I always feel better and I know that I'm covering all my bases. If you'd like to try Athletic Greens, you can go to athleticgreens.com/Huberman to claim a special offer. They'll give you 5 free travel packs that make it very easy to mix up Athletic Greens while you're on the road, in the car, or on the plane, etc., plus a year's supply of vitamin D3 K2. Again, go to athleticgreens.com/Huberman to claim the special offer of the 5 free travel packs plus a year's supply of vitamin D3 and K2. Today's podcast is also brought to us by Inside Tracker. Inside Tracker is a personalized nutrition platform that analyzes data from your blood and DNA to help you better understand your body and help you reach your health goals. I've long been a believer in getting regular blood work done for the simple reason that most of the factors that impact your immediate and long-term health can only be analyzed from a quality blood test. And nowadays, with the advent of modern DNA tests, you can also get insights into your particular needs for your genetic type. Now, a major issue with a lot of blood tests and DNA tests out there is you get the numbers back, you get a lot of information back, but you don't know what to do with that information. Inside Tracker makes that very easy. They have a personalized platform where you get your numbers and it points to specific things that you can do in terms of behavioral protocols, meaning things you perhaps should do more of or less of, nutritional protocols, things that you perhaps should ingest more of or less of, and various things that you might consider for more elaborate, directed approaches to adjusting the numbers in your blood and DNA profiles. Another feature of Inside Tracker is that it has what's called the inner age test. This test allows you to see what your biological age and compare that to your chronological age. And of course, your biological age is the one that you can control, and that's the one that's really important to your immediate and long-term health. If you'd like to try Inside Tracker, you can go to insidetracker.com/Huberman to get 25% off any of Inside Tracker's plans. That's insidetracker.com/Huberman to get 25% off. Today's episode is also brought to us by Helix Sleep. Helix Sleep makes mattresses and pillows that I truly believe are the best out there. I've been sleeping on a Helix mattress for about a year now, and it's the best sleep I've ever had. One thing that makes Helix mattresses really unique is that they are tailored to your unique sleep needs. You can go to their website, you take a quiz, it only takes about 2 minutes, and it will match your body type and sleep preferences to a particular mattress. So it will ask you questions such as, do you sleep on your side, your back, or your stomach? Do you tend to run hot or cold during the night? Maybe you don't know. You answer those questions and it matches you to the mattress that's right for you. For me, that turned out to be the Dusk mattress, D-U-S-K. I wanted a mattress that wasn't too firm, not too soft. Anyway, I matched to the Dusk. I've been sleeping on a Dusk mattress, and as I mentioned before, it's been the best experience for me. My sleep is so improved. So if you're interested in upgrading your mattress, go to helixsleep.com/Huberman, take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you to a customized mattress for you, and you'll get up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows. Again, go to helixsleep.com/Huberman, take their quiz, match to the mattress that's right for you, and if you decide to purchase it, you'll get up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows. They have a 10-year warranty, and if you want to try it out, you can do that for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick the mattress up for you if you don't love it, but I'm pretty confident that you will. Again, helixsleep.com/Huberman is where you'll find a Helix mattress for you. Let's talk about habits. And anytime we're talking about habits, that means our nervous system learns something. Now, many people think that habits are just like reflexes, but pure reflexes are things like the eye blink reflex. You know, something comes toward your eye and you don't want it to get in your eye, you'll blink. Or if you happen to step on a sharp object or get too close to something that's too hot, you'll reflexively move away. Those aren't habits. Those are what we call hardwired reflexes. Habits are things that our nervous system learned, but not always consciously. Sometimes we develop habits that we're not even aware of until they become a problem, or maybe they serve us well. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is that habits are a big part of who we are. What we do habitually makes up much of what we do entirely. In fact, it's estimated that up to 70% of our waking behavior is made up of habitual behavior. So you can imagine that there's a lot of biology, meaning cells and hormones and neural pathways, et cetera, that are going to support the development of those habits. So if habits are largely learned, consciously or unconsciously, we have to ask ourselves, what is learning? Well, learning is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is simply the process by which our nervous system changes in response to experience. We have to ask, what changes? Well, what changes are the connections between neurons. Neurons are just nerve cells. They communicate with one another by electricity and by sending chemical signals to one another that inspire the next neuron and the next neuron to either be electrically active or not. But at the end of the day, neuroplasticity is about forming new neural circuits, new pathways by which certain habits are likely to occur and other ones are less likely to occur. So we've got habits. We have that habits are learned. We have that learning involves neuroplasticity, and that neuroplasticity involves changes in the connections between neurons, nerve cells. Okay, so that describes habits through the lens of neuroscience and biology. But as many of you are well aware, there are popular books about habits, and there's a whole psychological literature about habits. And those two areas point to some very interesting aspects of habits that I think are worth mentioning. First of all is this notion of immediate goal-based habits versus identity-based habits. Immediate goal-based habits are going to be habits that are designed to bring you a specific outcome as you do them. So each and every time you do them. So for instance, it might be that you want to develop a habit of getting 60 minutes of zone 2 cardio each day, or perhaps 3-4 times a week as we head into the new year. I've talked before on the podcast about the fact that the scientific literature and the health literature really points to the incredibly positive effects of getting 150 minutes to 180 minutes per week minimum of what's called zone 2 cardio. Zone 2 cardio is basically any cardiovascular exercise that gets you moving and your heart pumping and breathing, but not so hard that you can't hold a conversation. It kind of puts you at the threshold of being just able to have a conversation that's a little bit strained. But if you were to exercise a little bit harder, run a little bit faster, etc., you wouldn't be able to talk while you did it. There's a lot of literature that points to that as a healthy practice. So maybe you're somebody that wants to get more of zone 2 cardio, for instance. That would be an immediate goal-based habit. If your goal is to get that cardio maybe 4 times a week, every time you do it, you could check off a little box and you'd say, okay, I did it. You met the goal. That is different than so-called identity-based habits, where there's a larger overarching theme to the habit, where you're trying to become, quote-unquote, a fit person, or you're somebody who wants to be an athlete or something of that sort. It's where you start to attach some sort of larger picture about yourself or what it means for you to do that habit, where there's both the immediate goal, right? Complete the exercise, complete the session or whatever it is, check off that box, but that you're linking it to some sort of larger goal. Now, why am I making this distinction? I mean, first of all, I'm not the one to first make this distinction. Others have made the distinction between identity versus immediate goal-based habit formation. But the reason I'm making the distinction is that pretty soon in our discussion today, we are going to talk about dopamine, a molecule that's associated with motivation and reward that we make in our brain, and how different schedules of dopamine release predict whether or not we will stick to a habit or not, and in particular, whether or not we will be able to form that habit quickly or not. Now, this is absolutely critical to understand for the following reason. Another thing that you'll hear out there in the literature is that it takes 21 days to form a habit. Some people say 18, some people say 21, some people say 30 days, some people say 60 days. So which one is it? Does it depend on the habit that one is trying to form, or does it depend on the person that's trying to form the habit? Well, it turns out that there's excellent peer-reviewed data on this. There's a study published in 2010, first author Lally, Lally. This study found that for the same habit to be formed, it can take anywhere from 18 days to as many as 254 days for different individuals to form that habit. The reason I bring this up is that I always get asked, is it true that it takes 21 days to form a habit? Is it true that your nervous system changes in 6 days when you're doing something repeatedly? And the answer is, as I mentioned before, it's highly variable. What I didn't tell you actually was what specific habit they were looking at in that Lally study. And it's interesting that the specific behavior was a health-related behavior. It's pretty relevant to our discussion here on the podcast, which was taking walks after dinner.